Hello everyone, this is JR from Stone River Nursery. We're entering the latter part of April. Today is April 20th, 2026. And I wanted to share with you what's happening with our apples. As you may know from previous videos, apples are the majority of what we grow. So let's have a walk together and see what's going on. Starting around the same area where we did our March follow-up video, over here we have a nice pair of apples. This is from the surprise variety, which is supposed to be a pink flesh apple. And then over here, we see bloom clusters of the variety known as white winter pearmain. This is a variety that blooms for a long period of time, probably 2.5, 3 months. And you will see combinations of small apples that are already formed with new bloom clusters that are coming along. So it's a really productive variety. It is susceptible to bitter rot, so you will have to spray it in the late winter with a copper fungicide to try to prevent the infestation. But if you can get the apples to maturity, they are absolutely wonderful, and they have like this perfumey, kind of like sweet and sour flavor. Absolutely delicious when they're ready. Some of the apples that were still dormant when we filmed our last video in March are now seeing some action. This will potentially provide us some blooms, these two buds right here on the sides, maybe in the next few weeks or so. Over here, we have a bloom cluster. This variety is Crips Red, which I think the trademark name for it is Sundowner. It's a sister plant to Pink Lady, and it has a similar flavor profile to it. So we're excited to try it out. Over here we have another apple tree. This one is awakening, but we don't see any bloom action so far, so we'll just kind of like give it a few more weeks and see what happens. We continue our tour with this 3-in-1 apple cluster. So we have here a Cox's Orange Pippin, and although it had a few flowers coming out in different spots, it seems that only a few fruit got pollinated. Let me see if I can get this for the video. Oop, it wants to hide. Okay, so there it is. I think that there's another one next to it. Then if we move here to the side, we will see a golden russet. And the golden russet has a few apples formed in different areas. Some of them larger than others, but definitely some action happening. And then over here in the back, if I move this branch, we have an apple cluster of Pixie Crunch. And Pixie Crunch is not even fully awake yet, so I cannot wait for that variety to explode in blooms because it's a really nice variety. Definitely a good one for our climate. As we continue to the next raised bed of apples, here in the corner we have a Coconut Crunch. And this one, even though it's been known to produce well in warm climates, it's kind of a stingy producer. It doesn't produce a whole lot of flowers. But again, I'm gonna cut it some slack because it was being blocked by the coconut cream mango, which was really, really tall. And over here, we have a spent bloom cluster. It might have formed a couple of apples here and there. And then as we move to the front, this tree that is tilting to the side, I have to fix that. It's a Melicarla, and Melicarla is an apple variety from the 1200s. It does well in the Mediterranean, and because we have a similar climate in terms of the heat that we receive, it does pretty well. It's got a few apples here and there. There's like a spent cluster right there. So a couple of apples might survive from that action. Next to it, we have a black strawberry. This is one of the varieties developed by my good friend Stephen Edholm from Skillcold out in California. And it's been growing a few apples. Like, let me see if I can point this correctly. Here we go. And then we got some in the back. And let me go ahead and show you some of the flowers from it. I have to go behind the tree for a moment. But as you can see, it's a beautiful dark pink flower, and if we grow them to maturity, they're supposed to have like a pinkish color on the inside and taste like strawberry cereal, like an artificial strawberry cereal flavor. So definitely exciting to try those. We've had them before. The problem is that with bitter rot infestations during the summer, we never really get them to mature as they should. So fingers crossed that the treatments we're applying now will let us get there. Moving on to another apple tree. This is the King David variety. And over here it has a bloom cluster that's kind of like hiding under one of the branches from the emerald drop pluot. Hopefully with a little bit more fertilizer, it'll be able to grow more bloom clusters. This is a variety that doesn't bloom early in the year, and it's also ready near the time of Thanksgiving. So we got plenty of time to get more blooms and have more apples form in there. Over here we have a 3-in-1 cluster of red flesh apples. So we're here in the front, we got a variety called Red Devil, and it's got a few spent blooms already. So we'll see if there are any apples that survive from that. When we have a Devil Permain apple on the side and a wine kissed. I don't see anything major with these varieties this year, but maybe with a little more fertilization, things could change. Now this is where most of our apple action is taking place. Even though this one doesn't have anything yet, this is a Cox's Orange Pippin cross that I created. I don't know the parent, but I did grow the seed and it turned into this beautiful seedling that after 1 year in the ground, grafted on Geneva 890 rootstock, it has a lot of vigor and it actually produced some nice fruiting spurs. So if we fertilize it, we'll see what happens. This variety over here is Orange Collie. So it's supposed to be a darker version of a southern variety that's known as Collie. And this is going to be the first year we'll get to try it. Oh, there's an insect that wants to eat my apples. No bueno. That's right. Get out of here. You don't know what's what. Now this one has been one of the stars for this bloom cycle, and this is the Pink Parfait variety. This variety was developed by Albert Eder as part of his red flesh program of apples during the 1940s, I believe. And it's doing really, really, really great. I mean, there are so many bloom clusters already from previous weeks, and it's still continuing to bloom in stages. It's got some apples that are already formed in different sections of the tree. So it's actually pretty cool that it's doing so well in our climate. Another one of our apples that is in bloom is the Rubinette variety. And this one over here has some apples that are growing. When you see an apple that has the yellowing stem like this one, it means that it didn't fully pollinate and it'll eventually fall off the tree, or you'll be able to remove it just like that very easily. In fact, very gently to the touch if I were to do this. See, that one didn't get pollinated, so it falls off. This one doesn't get pollinated, but this one with the green stem is still doing well, so we'll give that one a chance to grow, and hopefully the energy from the tree will form it into a nice piece of fruit. But this one, just like some of the other apple trees, it still has some blooms, and hopefully with pollinators in the area, we'll get a nice fruit set. Here we got another apple that got formed. Over here you can see that those apples are kind of like closing in, which means, oh, we got what we needed to form fruit. This other apple variety is Gold Rush. It's one of the apple varieties that does well in warm climates. And it's got some action happening. Let me see if I can find a few apples that form. See, right there, there's a nice pair. And it will continue to bloom, so we'll see what happens as the action continues. This one in the corner is a Kids Orange Red. This is one of the parents of Gala, which is a popular supermarket variety. Although it's reputed that Kids Orange Red, its parent, is a much better taster. So we will be able to tell you if the apples survive the bitter rot infestation. Over here to the side, we have another variety developed by Stephen Edholm. This one is Cherry Crush. And It has a bloom cluster that's about to open. But some of the previous ones, let me see if I can show you right here. It's windy today. I apologize for the motion. Oops, we're gonna have to wait. Moving to a different angle so that the wind lets us do what we need to do. We have a spent cluster of blooms from the Cherry Crush variety. And as I mentioned earlier, if you see some of these that have that yellow stem, you know those didn't get pollinated. So we can gently take them off. Let me see if I can do that. It's hard to focus with one hand. There we go. So let's see if I get this. See, some of them are coming out. And the only ones that are left are the ones that have the green stem. Those are the ones that apparently got pollinated and have a chance to make it into mature fruit. In that same raised bed where we have the Cherry Crush, I recently planted a Dorset golden apple that I grafted on Geneva 890 rootstock, and it pretty much grew up as a whip. So I tried to notch the buds as they were trying to come out of dormancy. And what it's doing is that it's creating fruiting spurs all along the stem. And this is a variety of apple that is an early bloomer, generally speaking. But here we are, and it decided, you know what, I'm gonna keep blooming. I'm gonna bloom one more time. So that is fantastic, because obviously a lot of people got sad about fruits being lost due to the freeze. So now, as we are heading into the latter part of April, we don't have to worry about it because there are no freezes expected, probably for the rest of the year. So we're in pretty good shape. Looks like these have a chance to make it. In the Mad Scientist section of our yard, we have a few apple trees that are blooming, and one of them is the Granny Smith. Now this one is on a different rootstock called Geneva 11. It's still in the same series as the Geneva 890, but it's a dwarfing rootstock, and it doesn't have the same qualities as Geneva 890. It's pretty susceptible to woolly apple aphids, so it's not as strong as Geneva 890 is, but it's still a precocious producer of apples. Moving over here, this is a novelty tree that I wanted to share with you. This one, believe it or not, is a Red Delicious. Yes, you heard me right. Red Delicious, as in the variety you buy in the supermarket that apparently cannot grow in warm climates. And here it is. This is the second year in a row that this tree has produced some blooms. And it's grafted onto a rootstock known as Bodagowski 10. And it was showing real promise because it's supposed to be precocious, cold hardy, which it is. But the problem is that I think Bodagowski 10 requires more chill than what we get in our area, and some of the other varieties like Dorset Golden that I grafted onto it have never bloomed. So it's really strange. But this one, even though it's supposed to require much more chill, it's producing flowers and fruit. And then last but not least, I'm showing you here a Reine de Renette apple. And this one already has a few apples that form, but then it also has some nice new bloom clusters that are starting to form around the tree. So even in our Mad Scientist section, we're seeing some apple action. Before I end this video, I wanted to show you some of the baby apple trees that we grafted about a month ago. And these are available for sale. So we got varieties like Gold Rush, Anna, Dorset Golden, Shale of Alabama, Pixie Crunch. And if you twist my arm hard enough, there is a 4-in-1 apple where each branch represents a different variety. So this one has Crips Red, Pixie Crunch, Rubinette, and Gold Rush all in one single tree. So if you're interested in it, talk to me and we can figure out a price. But I am selling these baby apple trees for $30. These are grafted onto Geneva 890 rootstock, and they may look like Charlie Brown trees at this point, but trust me, if you put these guys in the ground, give them TLC, with the rainy season that we have in the summertime, It is not unusual for these to grow between 5 to 6 feet the very same year, okay? And they are expected to produce fruit 2 to 3 years after you put them in the ground. So a much quicker return on your investment. Let me know if you're interested in buying some of these apple trees from us. I want to thank you for joining us on this quick tour of our backyard. Next time that we'll show you another video will be next month. We'll see how big the apples will be at that point. And if there's anything to point out in terms of, there's a plague that needs to be taken care of, or there is the presence of a disease, what are the things that you can do to control them? So it's about to get hotter and a little bit more uncomfortable to be out in the backyard, but we'll still continue our pledge to produce at least one video per month. As a reminder, if you want to buy apple trees from us, we still have some available. You can contact us right here if you're interested in buying any apples from us. So in the meantime, have fun during the spring season, and we'll see you again in May. Take care, everybody.